Welcome to ANZAC Day for 2025. I'll read the acknowledgement of service. We respect and give thanks to all who have served in our Defence Force and their families. We acknowledge the unique nature of military service and the sacrifice demanded of all who commit to defend our nation. We undertake to preserve the memory and deeds to all who have served and promise to welcome, embrace and support all military veterans as respected and valued members of our community. For what they have done, this we will do. We'll now have the tribute to the flags. Yeah. If anybody we're going to start reef laying now, anybody that wishes to lay a reef, please do so. Is there anybody else there wishing to lay a reef? Please do so now. Parade Commander.
Parade at 10! Run! 12 men!
young, straight of limb, true of eye, their faces to the foe. Old, as we that are left grow old. Yet.
Lest we forget. I'll now read the ANZAC Requiem. On this day, above all days, we call those who serve in war and who do not return to receive the grateful thanks of the nation. Remember those who still sleep where they were left, amid the holly scrub in the valleys and ridges of Gallipoli, on the rocky and terraced hills of Palestine, and in the lovely cemeteries of France. Remember those who lie sleeping ground beneath the shimmering haze of the Libyan desert, at Bardia, Derna, Tobruk, and amid the mountain passes and olive groves of Greece and Crete, and the rugged hills of Lebanon and Syria. Remember those who lie of Malaya and Burma, in Papua New Guinea and the distant isles of the Pacific. Remember those who lie buried amid loving friends in our motherland and in our own far north. Remember those who lie in unknown resting places in almost every land, those gallant men whose grave is the unending sea. Especially do we remember those who died as prisoners of war, remote from their homeland and from the comforting presence of their kith and kin. We think of those of our women's services who gave their lives in our own foreign lands and at sea, and those who served, who proved to be much more than name, the sisters of our fighting men. We recall too the staunch friends who fought beside our men on the first ANZAC Day, men of New Zealand who helped to create the name of ANZAC. We recall those who gave their lives in the Royal Navy, the British Army, the Royal Air Force, the Merchant Service, and in other British and Dominion forces, and we think of those British men and women who fell when, for the second time in history, their nation, as his kindred, stood alone against the overwhelming might of an oppressor. We think of every man and woman who in those crucial hours died so that lights of freedom and humanity might continue to shine. We think of those gallant men and women who died in Korea, Malaya, Borneo, Vietnam, Somalia, the Gulf, East Timor, Afghanistan and Iraq, as well as in the peacekeeping forces and on humanitarian missions defending the Commonwealth and other countries of the Three World against a common enemy. May these all rest proudly in the knowledge of their achievement, and may we and our successors in that heritage prove worthy of their service. I'd like to introduce now our guest speaker, Mr. Matthew Main.
Good morning, special guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we commemorate the 110th anniversary of the Gallipoli campaign, a solemn occasion in which we stand at memorials across our two countries and remember those men of Australia and New Zealand who came ashore in Turkey in 1915. Though the Gallipoli campaign failed to achieve its military objectives, the actions of the Australian and New Zealand troops bequeathed an intangible but powerful legacy. The creation of what became known as the ANZAC legend was born. Like many of you, I have ancestral connections to the Great War and the Australian Imperial Force. When recruitment numbers for the AIF were in decline from 1916 onwards, my great-grandfather, Norman Nevin, was keen to join. Upon turning 18, he enlisted in the first AIF at the Brisbane Recruiting Depot on New Year's Eve 1917 and was assigned to the 9th and final reinforcement group to the 41st Infantry Battalion, 3rd Australian Division. A seasoned unit, the 11th Battalion had been engaged on the Western Front since 1916, fighting at Amiens, Messines Ridge and Passchendaele. Arriving in France in the final year of the war, Norm fought under Australia's most brilliant military leader of the Western Front, General Sir John Monash. Norm was unique, but he was also identical to my youth and the youth of today. He was full of life, full of vigour, and according to his military records, full of a healthy disrespect for authority. Twice being charged for insubordination for failing to follow an order. Firstly, whilst at sea on the transport ship en route to theatre, and the second time, whilst in training camp in Suez, Egypt. Born in July of 1899, Norm embodied the spirit of youth, a son of Australia, a new beginning in a new nation in a new century. But this spirit of youth was about to collide with the unbearable horrors of the Western Front. The 41st Infantry Battalion played an active role in the August offensive of 1918, being part of the initial attack and long advance that followed. The battalion's final action was to be the Battle of the Hindenburg Line from the 29th of September to the 2nd of October, 4 days of the most intense fighting. The attack went forward with Norm's battalion in the thick of it, and over the next 96 hours, hard and bloody fighting continued hand to hand and bayonet to bayonet. The Hindenburg Line, a system of 3 heavily fortified and interconnected German trenches, was finally broken through. It was to be the last great battle fought by Australian units of the Great War and would see the combat disbanding of the 41st Infantry Battalion. The losses were unimaginable, just as they had been on every other major engagement since arriving on the Western Front. Of the Great War, 133 Australians returned home with wounds, both physical and mental. Norm was to be counted in these numbers. Having secured the second line of trenches, the Germans launched a counterattack, and in the confused and fierce fighting, an enemy grenade exploded next to him, peppering Norm's body. Norm was eventually evacuated to the rear and returned to Australia the following year, amputated from the thigh due to the infection and metal and foreign material in bone. Today, courageous young men of Australia and New Zealand. The names of those that gave their everything are inscribed on cenotaphs across our two beautiful countries. In every small town and every capital city, the names of the fallen are etched in stone. The graves of those brave 41st Infantry Battalion of the Great War lie in the Australian National. My great-granddad married and had 2 sons. But my dad was unique, but his story is not. His story, like so many, was of a life cut short by war. Norm died in Brisbane of wounds sustained on the Western Front. He was 38 years old. His widow, my great-grandmother, Grace, would go on without him for the next 44 years alone. Norm and Grace's two sons, Neil, my grandfather, and Dennis, would grow up in Brisbane during the interwar years. When World War II arrived, Neil joined the Navy. Army. Neil was posted to the destroyer HMAS Canberra until its untimely end at the Battle of Savo Island, Guadalcanal. My granddad was fortunate to survive the encounter with the Imperial Japanese Navy on that dark August night in 1902. He was eventually repatriated back to Australia and lived a full life. My grandmother would tell me that when she combed his hair, shards of metal would still emerge from the wounds sustained in his scalp. As a boy, I remember often staring at the many scars on my granddad's legs and wondering how they came to be. My father, a National Service Soldier, or NASHO as they were known, completed his required duty at the 18th National Service Battalion in Brighton, Tasmania, between 1954 to 56. He would always laugh when he remembered back at the jovial times with his mates. My own service in the Navy and Army seems worlds apart, yet strangely familiar. I had followed the same path as my grandfather into the Navy. We did the same electrical training at the same technical school at HMAS Cerberus. Like my great-grandfather, I briefly experienced the life of an infantryman. It is a vocation that did not meet my Hollywood expectations. Little sleep, long days of hard physical work, and an uncomfortable bed under the stars. My army career would lead me down a path to aviation, a path I remain on today, operating the RAC rescue helicopter from both the Bunbury and Jandakot airports. I have seen conflict and suffering, but nothing on the scale of the Western Front or the Pacific War, and I'm grateful for having deployed on 4 separate occasions and returning home safely to my wife and family. Today, we gather together in solemn reflection, and we remember all of those across all conflicts who have served our country and continue to serve. Proud men and women of Australia and New Zealand that answer the call. We vow never to forget their sacrifice. We vow never to forget their name. On this 110th anniversary of ANZAC, we remember them all with love and fondness because they are ours, lest we forget.
Parade Commander.
Up! Right on 10! Done!
We shall now have the national anthems for Australia and New Zealand.
Amen.
And I'd like to call upon the President of the Bunbury RSL, Mr John Gelmy.
Right, stand up. Hey.
Good morning. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Cenotaph Vigil parties, the South West District Scouts and Southern Forest District Scouts. They did their part last night of the Cenotaph Guard. I thank them very much for that. Also, the Australian Emergency Service Cadets followed on till midnight and did the Cenotaph. I want to thank the parade and parade commanders and the wardens that are here today, but for the wonderful turnout of our parade that's in front of us here. It's a big parade, it's wonderful to see. So many service people, veterans, service people turn up for our dawn service. It's wonderful, thank you. I want to also thank the bel canto singers. Susan, thank you very much for a wonderful morning you've given us here with your choir. Thank you. Andy Shaw, thank you, Andy, Master of Ceremonies. Brett Corkery, the bugler. And all you people that have wonderfully turned up this morning for our dawn service. Wonderful to see such a big crowd here this morning. The Bunbury RSL organise ANZAC Day services in Bunbury. It's probably the only place in the whole of Western Australia, maybe in Australia, that have 3 services. We have our dawn service here, we have the Rathmine service at 8:30, and then we have our main at 11. So it's wonderful for the city, and I thank the city fathers and the grounds people for the wonderful job they do of our park, the lawns and gardens. But especially I thank you people for turning up and bringing grandma, granddad, mum and dad and all the kids, and the schools that are represented here today. There's a lot of schools that are represented amongst us, and I thank them also. But it's just wonderful, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your wonderful attendance here this morning. Thank you.
Parade Commander, march the parade off, please.